Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today we've got some more Age of Sigmar 3.0 rumours. Now, these ones I will say are by, I guess, an unknown source. They appeared on a couple of the Facebook groups which apparently came from both Reddit and the Grand Alliance forum. And there's no actual source. No one's giving us this news other than some random name on the internet. So these ones should be taken with a lot of salt. I don't have the confidence in these ones that I do from others. However, I thought it was still fun to talk about. But rather than sort of talk about how they may affect it because I maybe have more faith in other rumours, what I want to do with this set of rumours is I want to talk about, well, what's the likelihood that these things may become about? Some of these rumours seem to be, I guess, well thought, guesses, and some are maybe a little bit more wish listing. But both of those are fun. For me, I enjoy this sort of pre-edition time. I love chatting and talking about all this new stuff that's about to come. Whether or not it ends up being true, I don't really care. For me, it's just exciting to have all these things come out, talk about these things, get excited for the future and things that may or may not be. For me, this is all just a ton of fun. There's nothing wrong with sort of wishing, and wish listing isn't bad. I mean, when I saw the comments come up on Facebook, I go, to be honest, my response was, to be honest, this looks like wish listing. But what's not fun about wish listing? It's you wanting stuff. There is no problem with wish listing, and I don't see a problem with it at all. So, without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to look through each of the different parts of this rumour that came out, and we're sort of going to talk through, well, maybe is this wish listing, is this sort of like a well-thought argument, so let's look. Wish listing is, I hope that Scourge Privateers get a full army. That's wish listing. While I think people suspecting the board size of Age of Sigmar to change to the current 40k size is a well-placed guess. While there's no actual information saying that's true, judging by how they want to speed up the game and how 40k's changed board size, it doesn't make sense for Age of Sigmar to have two board sizes. Logic says that they'll change Age of Sigmar too, so that's a well thought guess. Anyway, let's get cracking into them and we'll start talking about all of them and we'll discuss each one in turn. So, first part of it, the new starter army is based on hobgoblins, mostly wolf riders, and bigger goblins. Now, this does go in line with what we are being told by other sources. Grimdark Live and a few other sources have most notably told us that we're getting a hobgoblin-like army. We're getting this army of larger goblins, but not quite orc size. So for me, this one does make sense. It's continuing on those rumours that we're continuously getting told that we're going to get this hobgoblin imagined army. And I think when we're talking about this, we're not necessarily talking like hobgoblins as we think of them. We're getting told, hobgoblins are bigger goblins, and that's what this thing is. Obviously, Grimdark Live has brought out a new video, I guess, talking about a bunch of these newer goblins, sort of giving us some naming sort of ideas on them, and that the fact they look sort of weird and misshapen. So definitely go give Grimdark Live a watch if you want to sort of maybe have a look at maybe a rumour that's true. Who knows? But I do think we're going to see something destruction. While I still hold out hope that it's Vermeer, this does seem to be just a reoccurring rumour that I keep hearing from different sources now, both reliable and spouted out of nowhere. I think this has probably got some truth to it. Next up, Stormcaster Eternals will be getting a new battle line bow units, sleeker dragon cavalry, flying cavalry, and at least 2 new heroes. Now, this to me makes a lot of sense. I think this is a well-placed guess. We're knowing that the new sort of armor that's coming out for Stormcast isn't a replacement, but is sort of, making so Stormcast can get back to Azir. So it makes sense that maybe some of the other chambers may take pieces from this. Obviously, maybe this is to do a lot more with the main fighting force of the Stormcaster. We might see maybe a reimagined sort of Dracothian Guard. Flying Cavalry to me is really interesting. I'd be really interested to know maybe what they're flying on. Maybe flying Griff Chargers, maybe smaller Taurolons or something like that. But this to me, new Stormcast, I think all these things sort of hit the right sort of mark. As we're going to try and get this new chamber out, or new whatever this is, out with, I guess, a full repertoire of models and range. 2 new heroes, I think, is easily doable with a starter army for Stormcast. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a lot more than that, though, to be honest. Next, and this one excites me a little bit, there will be a bigger focus on Cities of Sigmar. Many of the Empire kits will be updated and given Age of Sigmar flair. Only Empire humans are mentioned in this, mostly like Imperial Guard upgrades. So, there's two parts to this. First of all, Cities of Sigmar seeing some focus. This, I do think, is going to be a big thing. I'm pretty sure we're going to see some Excelsis rules, judging by how it's, pretty keenly made out on the map of the Realm of Beast that we're being shown. And the sort of narrative that they told us at the start seems to be like the Cities of Sigmar are going to be expanding. We're going to see new cities. We're going to see Order push back against the tide of chaos, destruction, and death. So, I do think this is reasonable. Now, for me, I'm actually a big fan of the Imperial Guard kit upgrade sprue. I really like the idea. Many of those kits are pretty cool. And to be honest, I really like the current Empire kit range. Some new heads and maybe some different weapons and stuff like that, and some shields could go a long way to turning those kits into real interesting models for a lot of the realms, I think. So it'd be really interesting to see what we could do with that. If we're going to get upgrade sprues, then I'm all for it. Look, if this makes more different models, it's, I like the Empire kits currently as they are, but some upgrade sprues would be most welcome, I think, for me. Most of all, it's just an update and a big focus on my favourite army that... For me, this seems logical that Cities of Sigmar are going to see an update. There were, I guess, fears around when Cities of Sigmar first came out that it was a stopgap book until everything got, turned away. But the army has become so popular. It's one of the most popular armies in the game now that I don't think GW can ignore it. What they can do is they can slowly over time replace the models in there with Age of Sigmar variations. I think we won't lose many of what we have now, but what we may see is replacement units. So we may lose Order Serpentis, but we may get a new Age of Sigmar version of Order Serpentis instead. I think that's all really cool. I mean, it allows you to keep playing with the models you're playing with, but it's going to give you new cool models in the future. And look, Order of Azir seems to be an expansion faction for Cities of Sigmar, so not going to be surprised if we see that as well. The new Stormcaster units are not replacements, mostly new armor. And to be honest, a lot of people, when they saw the new Stormcaster and the design, were wondering, oh, are we getting Primaris Marine? Are we going to have these old Marines phased out? But for me, I don't think that's the case. I look at Primaris in 40k, and I know they have different types of armor for different types of Primaris units. I think we're maybe going to start to see the Stormcast maybe expanding into different types of armor to sort of round out their force and have, I guess, what a cohesive sort of look in general, different variations of armor within the force, which I think is really cool. I really do like the Primaris Marines when you have Primaris next to, your General Intercessor, next to Aggressors, next to, say, your Infiltrators, and all these different marks of armor, and even, the Gravis Armor Captain and stuff like that. It looks really cool. And I think Stormcast could go down the same line and remain really cool. Also, not replacing my old models, big fan of. Next, Oryx will be getting something. World issues have pushed stuff back. You of course know the world issues that I'm talking about. It makes sense that, maybe with all that time missed before a new edition, that some things are going to have to be thrown the other side of the edition. And I think maybe it's the books that would have been closest to the new edition, that are made with the new edition in mind, that probably flew the other side. Obviously, Oryx definitely fit into that, and maybe Grotz as well. Potentially we could see, some destruction factions as they're not really gotten a lot. But obviously Grotz maybe have all the stuff that's appeared in White Dwarf, so probably not them. But Oryx definitely. Maybe they had a book ready, so maybe it's just been thrown the other side. Definitely something that seems plausible, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Oryx get something new with Kragnos and Destruction sort of taking a main focus. Godrak and Skragrot as well are sort of pushing forwards in their own narrative as well with the stories and the Broken Realm stories we've been reading. So this to me just all makes sense. Oryx probably are going to get something. I think this is logic more than anything on this one. Felix Stormcaster may be coming soon. Now, this is the one for me that throws most of these rumors, I guess, to the bin. This, when someone writes maybe in a pile of, I guess, things they're leaking, doesn't strike me as them having confidence in what they're saying. So, this is why I put a massive grain of salt. But regardless, let's continue talking about these. Felix, for those who don't know, is Gotrek's buddy from the world that was. Gotrek sort of left him to die. It's actually quite a great shame of Gotrek's, and it's why he's sort of hunting him in his stories and trying to find him. Felix as a Stormcaster has long been something we thought might be a thing, and I don't think we're going to see Felix as a Stormcast. I think what this may lead to is someone to continue on and add more to Gotrek, and so maybe a Gotrek model, related model. So maybe the character that he meets that is a Stormcaster that he had follow him, I forget the name of the Adasa tribe. The name completely eludes me. The Adasa tribe warrior who Gotrek sort of fails and dies fighting alongside and gets reforged as a Stormcaster and sees him later. Maybe we're going to see that model. Maybe not a Felix. Maybe the new Felix, I guess, of the story. So next, Dwarves will be reunited under one faction with a very similar book in design-wise to Orc Warclans. What this means is you'll get a book that you're able to play as Kharadron Overlords, you're able to play as Fire Slayers, and potentially maybe able to play as Dispossessed, but you're also able to play as a great unified Dwarven Nation army as well. This has long been something that's been speculated, and to be honest, it's not a bad thing for Dwarves. They always sort of feel second fiddle to Elves, I guess, in Warhammer, in whatever iteration you do. And while maybe perhaps I don't like the idea with Grungy coming back, Gotrek being the avatar of Grimir, this sort of does make sense. The Dwarves are going to have their main two gods back, so maybe they all come back together in one big happy family and Barrack Thring sort of rules supreme. This could be great. Look, as long as we still get the generic allegiance to play KO and the generic allegiance to play Fire Slayers, Dispossessed don't really matter because we still got Cities of Sigmar for them, and we get this joint faction. I think this could be a really cool book. I mean, Orc Warclans, you still see Iron Jaws, you still see Bone Splitters, but you also see Big War. And so I don't think it harms either of them potentially in going into a similar book that gives us something new. Potentially, maybe we keep Fire Slayers and Kharadron Overlords as separate books, and we then bring out this Dwarven Nation book as well on top, and have all three battle tomes separate. But for me, I think buying one battle tome and getting 3 different armies is great. So lastly, Malekith Hilarion, whatever name you want to call him, his new Dark Elves will be introduced later in the edition. I think this is probably a good stab. To be honest, we're going to need that new big player added towards the end of edition, much like how we got Teclis thrown in at the end here, and Kragnos on top. We're getting a ton of new players at the end of Age of Sigmar 2. Hilarion, I think, will be maybe the part that sort of wraps up our story of 2.0. And what's cool is Hilarion is this big giant demon monster thing. He sort of fits the realm of beasts, so maybe he goes there because his mother is now starting to take over a little bit more of Ulgu that he has to share. As we've read by some of the stories, maybe he's going to have to go over and start taking other realms as well. Be really interesting because he's this big monstrous guy. I mean, I can't wait to see what Hilarion looks like as a model. It could be amazing. But I really do hope that maybe we take Order Serpentis and sort of flesh that out and have like some dragon sort of themed shadow demon dark elves. It could be really, really cool. Hilarion's one of the characters a lot of people are waiting for. I think this is a pretty good guess at maybe seeing him later in the edition. He's the last big player that we know of that we haven't yet seen. So there we have it. That's the rumours that have come out. I mean, take these ones with a ton of salt. As I've said, these ones have no substantial source, but what are your thoughts on them all? Which ones do you like? Which ones don't you like? What would you like to see for this edition, and how would you like to see these things come about in the edition? Love to know everyone's thoughts. Let's get hopeful for the future of Age of Sigmar, and let's get ready for this new Age of Sigmar in 3.0. Well, thank you for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, while you're here, if you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fun community here at Sinful Gaming, you can do so by following the link to our Discord server in the description of the video. And while you're here on YouTube, why not go check out my featured channel section where there's a bunch of other fantastic Warhammer Age of Sigmar content creators doing everything from battle reports, painting videos, lore videos, tactical videos, and more besides that as well. Lastly though, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who's helped support the channel financially via Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you to our patrons Christian Weir, James, Soren, Kenny Lowell, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Outer and Shot First, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, and Augustin Andreas Lopez Diaz. And thank you to our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Fire Titan, Steve T, and The Real Zeop. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. It means the world to us. And if you'd like to help support the channel like these fine people do, you can do so by following the links to either YouTube members or Patreon in the description of the video as well. Thank you all for watching once again though. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay safe everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.